We are now going to complete the final portion of this test. It will be for the listening level. We are going to start at the grade 6 level. Nolan's highest independent level was grade 6. His instructional level is grade 7 for both oral and silent reading. Because he's in 4th grade, I feel comfortable starting at grade 6 as opposed to grade 7. So Nolan, what I'm going to do is hand you a passage. You'll read the title like we have, give me an idea of what you think the passage will be about, and then I will read it to you, and then you'll answer some comprehension questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Museum visit. What do you think will happen in the story?
It's gonna talk about some museum.
Okay. Okay. On our field trip, we visited the new museum. We saw different exhibits about science and the world around us. The telephone exhibit was definitely the most interesting. Phones from the early days were made of wood and metal. People had to ring the operator to make a call. The exhibit displayed many other types of phones. Some had televisions so that you could see the person you were talking to. There were also wireless phones for people in cars that transmit calls through tower signals. We saw movies that showed us how telephones help us in our everyday lives. Okay. What is this passage about?
It's about a trip to the museum and talking about telephones.
What were some of the exhibits?
The telephone exhibit.
What were some other exhibits? Okay. Which exhibit was the most interesting?
The telephone.
What materials were used to make the early phones?
Wireless phones, televisions.
What materials were used to make the earlier phones? What did you have to do to make a phone call with early phones?
You had to ring the operator.
What other types of phones were mentioned?
There were wireless phones, phones that had televisions so you could see the people, the person you were talking
Okay,
to.
and what other kind? Okay. How do wireless phones in cars transmit messages?
So you can talk to them.
How do they transmit messages? Do you think our phones are better than the early phones?
Yes,
Why?
because since we have more technology, it's easier to hear the person.
Okay. Do you think telephones have made our lives better?
Yes,
Why do you think they've made our lives better?
because of our technology, we have more ways to create telephones.
What is an exhibit?
An exhibit is like a section or portion of something. Of interesting things.
Okay. Okay, we're going to go to grade 5. I'm going to read a title, Pioneer House Building. What do you think that what will happen in this passage?
The pioneers, when they built houses,
Okay. When the first pioneers came to America, there were no special people to build houses, so they did the work together. All the people in the area could come and help. Some people would cut trees. Other people would take this wood and start forming the frame of the house. The older children helped by carting bits of wood or cutting the limbs. Younger children played. The work was difficult and long and gave the people enormous appetites. Large quantities of food were prepared and set outside on long wooden tables. Then everyone gathered around the table and feasted joyfully. What is this passage about?
It's about the pioneers when they built houses.
Why did the pioneers have to build their own houses?
Because there were no other special people to help them.
Who came and helped?
People in the area
What did the younger children do?
played.
What did the older children do?
They cut limbs on the trees.
What other jobs did people do?
They cut down trees, and then other people would start building the frames of the houses.
Okay. Where was the food placed and eaten?
On a long wooden table.
What do you think was the hardest job?
The hardest job would be cutting the limbs of the trees,
Why do you think so?
because that is pretty difficult to do.
Why do you think it's difficult?
It's hard to cut limbs off trees.
Which job would you pick?
I would probably pick to cut down trees.
Why would you want to cut down trees?
That's the easiest job.
Why do you think it's easy?
All it takes is an axe and swinging it into a tree.
Okay. What does enormous mean?
Giant, huge.
Okay. I went back and did grade 5, where his independent level would be for the listening level. Grade 6, he missed more than 3 of the comprehension questions, and so that would be his level that we would stop. So his highest level would be, with 3 or fewer errors, would be the grade 5 level, and this completes the BRI for Nolan.